previous class, we were discussing what are the obstacles to Atmajnana when we are doing sadhana, because the Acharya mentioned about all the 15 steps. And through these 15 steps, we are supposed to establish ourselves in the samadhi. But he's saying that until you reach the samadhi, there could be a few spoilers who will come and disturb you. And mostly they are four in different books, and here they are made into five because there's a bit of a difference between laya and tamas. So mostly, what are these obstacles whenever we are doing this sadhana is mentioning most important the bignas, the obstacles are number one, anusandhana rahityam. Now, you remember in Vivek Chudamani, we had done a verse in which it was mentioned, Atita Ananusandhanam. So you should not try to explore into your past, what happened, what didn't happen. I could have benefited more, I could have been happier. If this had happened, I would be in a much better position in life. Those thoughts are completely wasteful. And then bothering about future, that is also equally wasteful. We have to practice and live in the living present and attend to whatever is the call of duty. Whatever is the call of duty, the greatest call of duty is trying to have that atmajnana, as the Shastra mentions here. So, anusandhana rahityam, that is the first thing. We get often tired trying to do some things, and this search for the self, it can be terribly boring because we have done few, these Prakarana Granthas, and as you move further and read more and more, you might think, so nothing is happening. Why should I read these Vedanta books? What am I going to get out of it? Then you stop doing it. So the benefit of these Vedanta, Satsanga, whatever you're doing, is the mind at least remains lighter. And this is kind of vaccination of your individual consciousness, which would, preclude any possibility of being vulnerable to temptations and distractions in life, getting messed up, accepting wrong things as real, taking interest in things which do not matter at all. These satsang sort of keeps us immune from all these small attachments and vulnerabilities. Therefore, he's saying one critical failure which can upstage our progress is that anusandhana rahityam. If we stop doing this, stop taking interest in the sastras, in self-inquiry, that's number one. And why do we actually stop doing inquiry? Alashyam, laziness, indolence. And bhogalalasam, when we stop doing right things, there'll be temptation for doing wrong things. And the worst thing is the desire to again crave for same old experiences of life, which have come and dissed us and they have gone back. Like we can always sit on a chair and fantasize of being in our teens. We could start our life afresh. Isn't it even tiring to think about all that? But it's quite possible that a lot of people daydream and feel better. So, bhogalalasam. So, these are some of the symptomatic problems. What are the root causes of all this? Layas, samas, vikshepo, rasa aswadasya sunyata. So, these four are most important. One is laya, the other one is vikshepa, the other one is what is called kasaya, is mentioned here as sunyata, and then rasa aswadana. All four I have explained in the last class, just to kind of quickly do a revision of it. Laya is that whenever we sit in meditation, the mind is either tamasic or rajasic. So when it is overdominated by the tamasic disposition, you feel sleepy and tired. You do not want to exert yourself and remain alert to be able to meditate. And sometimes when the rajasic energies are slightly higher, you may be sitting to meditate, but your mind is too restless. I have 20 things to do. What would I get out of this satsang? What would I get out of this class? So you would like to do and go and engage in several things. Then there is a stage That you come to the library, you come to the table, you start the satsang, that is a preliminary achievement. That's not the main achievement. The main achievement is, in fact, to benefit from it. So, a lot of us might actually be able to go very close to that samadhi state. You do some sadhana, we almost reach there, and then when we do some sadhana, after some times, you'd find that, like, you go to parties, you stay away from a lot of arguments, you're able to sail through life very happily. Happily in what sense? Not in a material sense, but your mind has become subtler. You have become like a slippery fish with a very shiny oily skin, so that anybody who comes to get hold of you, you can escape, jump into water. You have become very cunning because of Vedanta. You can't be trapped by friends and enemies. The friends can also trap you, enemies can trap you. But because of the subtleness and sharpness of mind and the power of right kind of discrimination, you are able to fend off all sorts of advancements or advances of your friends and foes alike. The friends will come to take you and introduce you to pleasurable experiences, and that's a trap. The foes will try to trouble you, harm you, that's a trap. You have become very cunning and intelligent. And then everybody is jealous of you, and you think, I'm self realized, that is also a problem. Like, for example, in a corporate sector, if somebody gets a job, his manager likes him or her, she or he is able to deliver his basic, whatever deliverables, and he's having a very good time because the boss is always calling him, and he shows the SMS he's sharing with the president of the company. Everybody is jealous of him. But then, end of the day, he's not being able to deliver his targets, is gone. Similarly, a sadhaka might go to the penultimate stage where he's about to get an entry into the self realization or enlightenment. At that moment, the distance from samsara and the kind of freedom he enjoys from different kind of material vulnerabilities appears like an achievement in itself. He relishes that state, and sometimes he gets a few siddhis. That is suicidal, because you have a long journey, you have come very close, there's no time to relax. You need to continue to do the sadhana to reach that ultimate stage, not the penultimate stage. Therefore, there is a early warning that do not ever get fooled by the kind of peace and happiness that you experience on account of the distance between you and samsara. That's very illusory. The real thing is, have you entered into the domain of self realization? When you enter into the domain of self realization, then there is no worries. You are crossing over a river. It's a very turbulent river. The boatman is alerting all of you that I have to guide you to the other side of the river. It's very turbulent. Now you are very close to the river beach on the other side, the river bank on the other side, and then you get super excited, you lose control. The boatman also loses control, and then you get drowned. Or in the middle, you don't want to do the rowing work anymore, then you're not crossing that lake or water body, whatever it is. So, rasa aswadana is that state of intermittent, or you can say that avantara is the penultimate stage at which you sometimes have the illusion of having arrived in the domain of ultimate enlightenment, which is not true. And in Buddhism, they have several other things which are also enumerated. One is that you keep repeating a certain set of words, you keep repeating a certain set of religious or spiritual practices, you don't progress anymore. And then you think, okay, you have kind of reached, and anyone says, no, I don't have any problem. I've already got enlightenment. These are very self delusional because they do not give you that ultimate escape, freedom from the clutches of samsara. You might stay there for a long time, but one minor fluctuation, you'll be back to the vicious circle of down and fall of samsara. One has to be very careful. And the final one is sunyata pratibandhaka, is that jadata, that it's like we have mentioned that you're going somewhere, there's some kind of an obstruction, and you do not know what to do. You keep waiting, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your attention, you're not making use of this precious life where you have almost progressed to the final gate, and because of a minor obstruction, you are neither coming back nor going forward, and you're just stuck there. That is shunyata, or what is called kashaya. Because of previous ragas or vasanas, you, it's like they say that all of us sometimes hit the ceiling. We can only rise and progress to the capacity level. Once we have reached that, we can't rise any further. But that's actually, there's nothing called ultimate capacity level of anyone. There are unlimited capacities in all of us in the spiritual domain. We have to keep making the progress, because it's not physical movement of the mind or the body of the soul. It's essentially removal of received and habitual tendencies and conditions. This is a beautiful word which the Buddhists use. Habitual tendencies and conditions of the mind which produce a certain set of movements. This is right, that is wrong. We have to break through these habits to get the escape route to freedom. That is what he is mentioning. Evam tad vignavahulyam tyajyam brahma vidasanehi. Somebody who is intelligent, wise, he should know how to deal with these four enemies. What is this? Layas tamascha vikshepo. Here they have made it five. Laya is that, and tamas is that darkness, ignorance. Laya is that laziness and that inertia. Vikshepa is restlessness. Rasa aswadasya, that penultimate stage, happiness, where you are stuck, or there was a tiger attack, you escaped it, you couldn't reach the temple, but you are happy that you have saved your life. You have become a monk, you are not getting Atmagyana, but you are happy that you are not trapped in samsara. All these are rasa aswadaha. And then finally, sunyata. You should abandon all these states of being, as they call it, there's a spiritual stalemate. In Christianity, there's even a more beautiful word, but slightly different from this. It's called dark night of the soul, where subtly you enter into a dark phase of your life where you do not know what to do, where to go. There is a state of bewilderment. You lose all your faith. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? That is a much different. It's not about sunyata or anything. That is a deep state of viparita bhavana. All opposite kinds of things that come up. See, when we are doing this wrestling, and there's another beautiful expression there in the Bible. It's called wrestling with God. You are fighting with God. You are not being able to believe in Him. These things are there. So, in our tradition, these words are mentioned. This is for the kind of bignas or obstructions which hit us at a very high level of our sadhana. But remember that dark night of the soul can visit any of us anytime. And it happens more so when you haven't made much progress. You are somewhere there, but even advanced sadhakas can be struck with it. You might lose all your faith one fine morning. You may find everything is nonsense. And then you will be shocked what happens in Sankhya, even in Tantra, they mention, more so in the Eastern Indian, Bengal, Orissa, Andhra. A lot of these people have this feeling the Mother Divine rewards you, tempts you, attracts you to samsara, but she loves you and she has to elevate you. If you do not understand her point of view, the spiritual direction, she'll give you a shock treatment. You are destined to have a spiritual path, but you are going on a different path. So, mother is a punishing mother. She's a smiling Kali. She has a smile on her face, but remember, she's also carrying a sword. So, she is both a loving and a punishing mother. So, what she gives is she gives us a few shocks and sorrows in life. And these shocks and sorrows are not punishments, these are hidden signals, signages for us to change the course of our life. How else he is going to liberate us? So, in the whole Sakta Parampara, there are beautiful poems and bhajans in which, the bhakta sometimes is angry with the Divine Mother and says, "Why are you troubling me like this? Why don't you take me on the right path?" This whole thing, which you would find in all the devotional traditions, like whether it's Christianity or it's the Sufis or it's the Saktas, they all have, or Vaishnavas, they all have this. But here we are dealing with a little hard headed Vedantic kind of approach to truth, and the obstructions I mentioned, these are all revisited by all the wisest of sadhakas. These are the four categories. You can put all this beautifully described, picturesque capturing of the stories of the sons and sadhakas who have suffered distractions. They will fit into these four broadly. That's what they're mentioning in the ultimate stage. Then we are going to the verse number 129. Up till 128, we had finished it. So we should leave them, and he's saying Tyajyam Brahmavida Sanehi. This is a wide thing. Sane Sane Ruparame in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan said. You cannot leave everything in one day. Nothing happens in a day. Rome was not built in a day. No saint was born in a day. We have to progress and we shouldn't lose faith. There are a lot of work which are also happening about trauma care and dealing with the child within. All of us have a few memories of our childhood which control our emotions till the very last day of our lives. We need to recognize them. So the advice is that you cannot change in a day. You need not lose faith or patience. You need to continue to work on yourself with affection, with motivation and encouragement from yourself. You have to do a bit of self parenting, guide yourself. Therefore, very compassionate way, he says, Sane, Sane, Dire, Dire. Slowly you try to come out of these four bignas, deal with these devils, have faith and patience, and then you have Ishwaranagraha to be able to deal with them. Then he's saying why we need to go to that level of enlightenment. He's explaining this, the rationale for reaching that ultimate stage. If I can be there at the penultimate stage and I have a few spiritual cities and I have a lot of followers, I have a lot of powers, what's wrong with it? Then he's explaining, no, no, other than that Brahmakara Vritti, you can never get fulfillment. And why? He's explaining the next verse. भावभृत्या हि भावत्वं शून्यभृत्या हि शून्यता ब्रह्मभृत्या हि पूर्णत्वं तया पुण्यत्वमभ्यसेत भावभृत्या. So let's imagine whether aesthetic or material, any of these pursuits that you have in life. You are a great painter, you are a musician, you are a sports person. Your mind is accordingly aligned with and oriented towards that particular pursuit and all the related things there. So some people have a consciousness which is more sound oriented. They are great. Like for example, you look at the music composers. Somebody else's music, if you listen to him, he creates a lot of emotions in you, and somebody else's music sort of creates in you an amazement with how organized they are. So every kind of music, it creates a set of emotions in you. All musicians are different even though they are playing the same instrument. So you may be a sound person, and then it's easy for you to listen and remember and deal with music and stuff like that. The other person could be visually oriented. So he's an architect, or he's like a land use planner, all kinds of designers and all sorts of things. And some people are very analytical. They are numbers persons. They are all very good at numbers. All our brains are wired in different ways. Bhava bhritya hi bhavatvam. That bhava. Now, Maya is also bhava padartha. Brahma is also bhava padartha. Sansara is also bhava padartha, but there is a subtle difference. The Brahma is bhava padartha, is nitya bhava padartha. Avidya is also bhava padartha, but is avidya is anitya. It is anadi, but is not ananta. It's anadi shanta, and then it is anirvachanya, difficult to describe. And this sansara, all that we see, they are all work of Maya, projections of Maya. So can they be perfect? Can they be unlimited? No. When our minds are aligned with or connected with the sansarika, the material oriented, the positivistic orientation of the mind. Positivistic is not positive. Positivistic is what is gross, physical. That alone is true, that you are oriented towards that. Your mind having what? Bhavatvam. And what kind of bhavatvam? That Brahmakara bhavatvam? No. Vishayakara bhavatvam. And Vishaya means what? The moment anything is drishya, that is mithya. Why? Like dream. Dream is also visible and that is not real. So, all the bhava vastus in samsara, these are anitya and parichinna, means limited. They have contours, time, location, space, etc. And they are limited in nature. So when you connected with it, and you are trying to derive pleasure or happiness out of it, that's not possible. You can have temporary experience of delight or happiness. It's not going to last because the object that you are aligning with, it's limited. So there's a beautiful sentence in the Chandogya Upanishad, Alpena nasukam. One can't be happy with alpa. Yogoi bhuma tatsukam. What is unlimited, that alone can be the source of happiness, unlimited happiness. And that is the Atma Vidya, that is the Brahma Vidya. Therefore, he's saying, Bhava Vritya hi Bhavatvam. Okay, so all the karma kandas and upasana you are doing, and all the material pursuits in life, whether it's dharma, artha, kama, all that, will get bhavatvam, means parichinna bhavatvam. That we have to understand. And sunya vritya hi sunyata. Like, for example, you deal with absence. Here, there's a kind of a snide remark indirectly, even though the Tikakara has not mentioned this to my mind. You become a Buddhist and you remember and you meditate on Shunya, nothing exists. Then what are you? What is your mind connecting with? The mind is connecting with the absence of everything. Enlightenment is what? Is it something absent or is something present? Is it bhavatmaka or abhavatmaka? Is enlightenment absence of ignorance? That then deep sleep can also come into the picture. In deep sleep, there is no ignorance or knowledge or anything. There's an absence, but that's not knowledge. That is not enlightenment. Enlightenment is not absence of ignorance. Enlightenment is bhavatmaka, is a positive thing. Sunyata is jada. So sometimes your mind connects with ghata, pata, and a fan, a computer, and all that. You have the image reflected in your consciousness. Similarly, abhava, then your mind is concerned with that abhava, absence. Neither of these will give you fulfillment. One is limited, the other one is absent. Something which is not there. It's absence of easiness. It cannot give you fulfillment. What can give you fulfillment? He's saying, Brahma Vityahi Punnatvam. When the mind has Brahmakara Vritti, meditation on that Atma Padartha, then alone you can have Punnamadaha Punnamidam. Why are we doing that Shanti mantra every day? Because ultimately our mind has to accept, understand, relate to the Punnatva of that Atma Vastu. Then we are aspiring to be complete. Because of our ignorance, because of the way we are trained and tuned to think from our childhood, since several births, we are more comfortable with an incomplete understanding of reality. And a complete understanding of reality is not possible by being materially oriented, but by trying to see that the appearances, which are so diverse and confusing, have one unified consciousness as that field substratum, which is the reality of all realities. That alone is real. That alone is true. Let me connect with that. Let me meditate on it. The more and more, it's very easy to talk about it. And it's almost impossible to make an entry into that domain. That is why we are doing satsang and we're trying to unravel what is most difficult to understand or make sense of. So the Tikakara now here says the commentary of this verse 129. Vrittihi eva bandha moksha karanam ityaha. Whether you are in bondage or liberation has a lot to do with how your mind is connected with all that is around you. Is it Brahmakara vritti, or it is Bhava Padarthakara vritti, or Sunyakara vritti? That is what is going to decide what is the end product. Bhava vritya Ghatadi akara vritya bhavatvam tanamayatvam. You think about a house and a car or a box or cricket or sports, your mind is going to be of that shape and size. It will have tanamayata, bhavamayata. Whatever the object, your mind is preoccupied with it. And it's limited, then your mind is limited, there's no happiness. And then bhavati iti shesha sunya vritya abhava vritya sunyata jadata ityartha. And then you are saying nothing is real, or you are associating your consciousness or your mental functions with absence of everything. You are denying everything. Then that denial is what you are stuck with, and that is jadata. That's also not atma vastu. He iti loka prasiddhau tatha brahmakara vritya punyatvam he iti vidvat prasiddhau. And he's saying that this is what is ascertained by all the wise men, that when you have meditation of the atma vastu, the parameshwara, then only you will get purnatva. Sunya will not give you the feeling of purna, and whatever is sankuchita, whatever is limited, what is restricted, cannot give you unlimited freedom. So the only way to have a holistic, integrated understanding of consciousness, to experience the bliss of it, we have to meditate on the unlimited Satchidananda Swarupa, Parameshwara, or Atma, whatever way you want to describe it. Now, this version is now making fun of the ones who do not understand this secret. And what does he say? ये हि वृत्तिं जहत्येनां ब्रह्माख्यां पावनीं परां ते तु वृथैव जीवन्ति पशुभिश्च समानराः. This is a very caustic remark on people who are kind of disinterested or averse to the Vedantic pursuit of Atmajnana or self-realization. What is he saying? Yehi vrittim yahatyenam. What kind of vritti? Brahmakara vritti. Everybody is having what? Buddhi vritti. Vritti is also a job. What is your vritti? So those who renounce this Brahmakara vritti, I do not want to think about God. What is the point? Whatever you do in sansar, you will get the result. Bhagavan is saying these are kripanas. They are atmaghatis. They are suicidal. Why they are kripanas? Because you are a billionaire and you're having dry chapatis. What's the purpose? What is the purpose of your wealth? So you have unlimited Atmajnana and you don't want to pursue it. That is why we are called miserly. The one who doesn't know the self is a very miserly person. Yehi vrittim jahati. Jahati is plural. Enam. Those who renounce this Brahmakara vritti. What is the name of that vritti? Brahmakhyam Pavanim Param. This is Brahmakara vritti. Pavani, it purifies the mind. And Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, there is nothing as auspicious as self-knowledge. Because it removes all kleshas, all evils of your life. You are kind of somebody who is in the air. You are elevated. So there is absolutely nothing which can compare itself with Atmajnana. Everything else is inferior to it. And Pavanim Param, and it's the ultimate thing. There's nothing beyond this. Tetu Brutha Eva Jivanti. Those who do not want to have this Atmajnana are averse to it. I'm so sorry, my student. The professor is saying, the teacher is saying, Bhagavan Bhasyakara, Pasu Vishya Samanaraha. They are very equal to animals because God has given them a mind which can think. The cognitive functions we have, animals also have cognitive functions. But what we have, they also have some viveka. They also have some survival of the fittest. They have instinct for self-preservation. They also know what is good, what is bad. And then now we have a lot of proof and a lot of research into the way they think. Some of them almost are as intelligent as human beings in many ways, whether it's dolphins or it's dogs. I mean, there are certain pets which are sharp, very intelligent. They are able to communicate with their adopted dads and moms without being humans through symbols. They do wonderful jobs. And yet, they don't have this ability to think about God. Maybe they do. We don't know. But are underprivileged compared to us. We have that option, we have the opportunity, we have the privilege to have self realization, which is denied to them. What's the use of having this precious life as a human if we are not making the best use of it? That is what the Acharya says. Then he's now praising the ones who are now positively oriented towards this Brahmakara Vritti in the next verse. Ye hi vrittim vijananti jnatvapi vardhayanti ye te vei satpurusha dhanya bandhyaste bhuvanatraye. Ye hi vrittim vijananti, those who know about this Brahmakara Vritti, what are the secret, what are the obstacles, how to meditate, all that I have described in AparokshaAnubhuti, the professor, the Acharya says, Bhagavan Bhashyakara. Yatvapi, and knowing is not enough. Bardhayantiye, they then expand it. They do practice. They meditate on it. They dwell on these ideas. Teve Satpurushaha, they are the right persons. They are the best. Sa Mahatma Sudullavaha. Basudevam Sarvamiti. The one who knows everything is Brahman. Sa Mahatma Sudullavaha. It's very difficult to get one in a million, maybe, or maybe in a billion. Dhanyaha, they are definitely worthy. They're the best. They are praiseworthy. Dhanyaha, Pandyahate, they're very praiseworthy. Bhuvanatraye, Swarga Matya Patala, they are the most privileged. They are the select ones who will get the self-knowledge. They will be established in me, and therefore they're most precious among all human beings, and they're most praiseworthy. There's a stuti. In Shastra, we have this Arthavada. Stuti and Ninda Varakabhakya. So sometimes Ninda and Stuti is done to motivate us. If there is Stuti, we should follow it. If there is Ninda, so you must have seen some YouTube videos. So you have this little boy who is refusing, is creating some fuss while taking food. Some kids do it, and the parents, they do, or they have kept a doll nearby. They try to feed the child. Baby says no. Then they try to feed the doll says no, obviously. Then they slap the doll a few times. Then they again try to take the spoon and carry a spoon of whatever, whether it's custard or food or cream or anything. The boy quickly takes it, and the little baby takes it, knows, because otherwise he has seen the doll being spanked by the dad. He doesn't want to suffer it. So that is Ninda Vakya. So when we get to hear a Ninda Vakya, we know that's a no go area. We should stay away from it. There is a Stuti Vakya, that is the area we should enter. That's the act we should try to practice and perfect. So he is mentioning yehi vrittim vijananti gyatvapi vardhayanti devi satpurushaha dhanya bandhyaste bhuvana traye. Then we should be trying to perfect this Brahmakara vritti. Then there is a bit of Ninda also, that you have read Uparoksha unless you practice, you just try to perfect what is written there, that's of no use. It's like an engineer, you must have read it in the newspapers that a lot of these guys who are coming out of the IITs, they are not going to look for a job, they are not going anywhere. They are perfecting this course study and whatever, and then they start a coaching institute and they give lectures and they produce more engineers. Now what are they? Are they trained engineers? Can they run a machine? Can they work on a program? God knows. But they have perfected that coursework, the curriculum, everything, and they know how to solve the problems of the students who want to join that course. That's all. But their contribution to society as engineers, not direct. It's indirect. Maybe some of their students may become very good engineers. That is what he's saying. This applies to many sannyasis. That applies to many, all of us in certain ways. What is he mentioned in the next verse? Yesham vritti sama vriddha paripakva cha sa punaha teve sad brahmadam prapta netare sabdavadinaha. So first the ninda is for the sabdavadinaha. Very good at, very oratorial, they speak very well. Now, itare sabdavadinaha. Somebody quotes from Tantra and this science, Reiki and this and that. So many products in the market. In the spiritual shopping mall, there are different stalls and different points. You can go and buy different kinds of stuff. There are a lot of people who go and buy those stuff, and this is not to make fun of anybody. But if you talk to them and raise any doubt about what they are practicing, they are most likely to get very angry with you. So you should never ever, try to delegitimize whosoever is pursuing what, because that is the adhikara they have. You should pursue your thing, and then they may realize. But you should not force them. You should not, even they are relative to you. Never. I mean, there are a lot of people, like some people do these diamond sutra or something. There's a particular Japanese thing that they do some chanting of a mantra and they have circles and stuff like that, and they think that is the only thing is going to liberate them. That is fine enough. They are doing something is good. You should figure out what it is. So you have that pure diamond called Vedanta, and you read others' faiths and pick up books and this and that, but don't be over curious. It's very important to know what you are practicing, and that will become clearer to you when you actually make an entry into it. It's like you have purchased a car, you have never driven it, you are rich, so you have a car and it's lying there. Your driver drives it. And then somebody else asks you for some advice whether I should buy this car or that car, but you have never driven a new car. And you say, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. You don't know. So even if we call ourselves students of Vedanta, unless we actually try to struggle with it, wrestle with it, make an entry, we do not know which way is better for us, which way other ways don't work. So we have to make an entry and try to really experience it. Therefore, saying yesham vritti samavriddha paripakwa sasa punaha. So first they are making an entry into it, and they bardhayanti. That he mentioned in the earlier verse. So they try to expand it, and then that matures. Deve Sad Brahmadam Prapta. They are the ones who will ultimately get self realization. They will get that Param Brahma, Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. So once he reaches there, he is the one who gets the Brahman. It's not an object to get, it's all discovering that their true self. And no itare sabdavadinaha. Others who are just dabbling in words and theories, they won't get there because they are not doing the abhyasa. So there is a more sharp attack on these sabdavadis in the next verse. Kushala brahmavartayam vrittihinaha suraginaha tepya jnani taya nunam punarayanti yanti cha. This is about all professors, whether it's Christianity or Buddhism or Islam or Vedanta, any particular faith, any particular path of enlightenment. You'd always have a category of people like that. Kushala Brahmavartayam, those who are expert in giving discourses on Brahman, Brahmavarta. Extremely good. Professors, Vrittihinaha suraginaha, but they don't have the time to meditate on it, make it a part of their lives. Suraginaha, they are interested in samsara, they have their own business, whatever is going on. Tepi agyanitaya nunam, they are no different from the agyanis. The agyani doesn't, but there is one advantage at least. If you do some Vedanta study and all, whether you are doing Vedanta practice or not, this whole jnana will at least immunize you from being cheated by different kinds of gurus in the market and other people. You shall not have any fear. Somebody says this happens, that happens. You are not bothered. That gives you a certain confidence. Exposure to Vedanta literature gives you inner confidence. There's no doubt about it. Enormous amount of confidence. And there's a lot of these people. This guy has a lot of occult powers. He has this power, that power. You will have least interest once you study a bit of Upanishads. That gives you that inner strength, and therefore you are not bothered. Oh, really? Oh, so this God man, you go there, you can get in. You might go that you lose interest. He'll not have it. The moment you say, "What do you do?" I study Vedanta, you'll find he will avoid you. Oh, really? You study Vedanta? He will slowly avoid you. He knows this guy will not be vulnerable. His system is different. He's a rational guy. He's thoughtful. He's intellectually oriented. He's very analytical. He's not going to be one of my blind devotees. They know that. They will avoid you. That's the good thing. that you are free to pursue your goal. Yesham vritti samavriddha paripakva chasa punaha tevi sad brahmadam prapta na tere sabdavadanah. Then kushala brahmavartayam vrittihinaha suraginaha tepi ajnanitaya, like almost like the other, all normal ignorant people who are karmakandis or those who are completely swept away by the forces of nature in samsara, punaha ayanti yanti cha, they will be born and reborn. One category of people are just ignorant people. So therefore they are karma bandha. Therefore, because of karma, they will have rebirth. Good birth or bad birth depends on whether papa or punya has been done. But these kushala, these people, the experts in lexiconic wisdom of Vedanta. They know what it is. The text they have read. Good enough. You have not done the vritti jnana. You have not purified the way the mind functions. You haven't reached the Brahman. You will be reborn. Absolutely no escape from it. That's what Acharya says. Then he's saying, why we have to do this Brahmagara Vritti? What is it? I have already read the texts. Then he's explaining it beautifully in the verse number 134. Nimesardham natishtanti vrittim brahmamaim vina yatha tishtanti brahmadyaha sanakadyaha sukadayaha. Do you know who are the guys who are not going to come back? What kind of Vedantis are they? Nimesardham natishtanti, even for half a second. Nimesha is actually fractions of a second, and half of that, Nimeshardham not ishtanti, they would not be there even for fractions of a second. Brahma Brittim, Brahmamaim Brittim Bina, without meditating on that ultimate truth called the Brahman. Bina, Yatha Tishtanti Brahmadyaha. And who are the people? What are the examples? Like Brahma, Prajapati Brahma, Suka, Sanaka, his children, Vyasa, all these people. Brahmadyaha, Sanakadyaha, Sukadayaha. Sanaka and all the allied monks and their disciples, Suka and his disciples, Brahmadyaha, and all these. They are all liberated souls. These are all extremely wise people, constantly meditating on the Brahman. Similarly, a good student of Vedanta is like Sukamani, like Jagyavalkya, like Sanaka, like Prajapati Brahma himself all the time is lost meditating on the Brahman. Why? If they are so powerful, they are thinking about Brahman, who the hell are you? Why shouldn't you all the time be preoccupied with this idea? You might do it 20, 25 things in a day, not a problem, but never forget this fundamental truth of life. That Satchidananda Vigraha, that Paramatma, that alone is real. That alone is going to give us freedom. We may be a millionaire, but he is saying Brahma, the creator of this whole universe, he is thinking about the Brahman. And just because of a few millions, you think you're superior? They are all anitya, they are all temporary, ephemeral, transient. They come and go. Therefore, we should follow that. That is the mention in the, he's saying now there's a bit of commentary here. What is he saying? Tadeva swa abhimatam sangam rajajoka abhidhaya purva upakranta sankhya aparapariyayam vedanta vicharam upasangharati karya. That is the next verse. That is 135. 134 he's saying yataha evam tasmad brahmanishte brahma vritya eva sarvada. Then what is thatabhyam? All the time we must stay in that state of being complete equanimity and dissolved in that Atmavastu Suchaitam Brahmadinam Udaharanam Aha. The example of Brahmadi. Yatha Brahmadyaha Tatha Sanakadyaha, Yatha Sanakadyaha Tatha Sukadyaha. So Brahma and then Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana, Sukha, Adi Sampradayo Darsitaha Etena. Brahmadi Sebhyatvad, because Brahma and others are also meditating on this Brahma Vastu. Therefore, Atiseshthatvam Ayam Samadhi Paryanto Rajayoga. The Rajayoga of this Vedanta is different from the Rajayoga of Patanjali that we have already discussed. Then you do this Vicharatmaka, contemplative Rajayoga. Samadhi Paryanto Rajayoga Sarvada Mumukhyavu Sevaniya. We should practice it if we are interested in liberation. Iti dhvanitam. That is the 134 we have done. We have exactly another 10 verses from here, and we'll wind it up tomorrow. Sheila, 14 minutes, will do 2-3 more verses. And what is that Brahmakara Vritti? He has already mentioned it earlier, but he's kind of doing revision, summarizing it. He's bringing it to a conclusion. Let's look at how he's putting it forward. Karye karyanata yata karanena hi karyata karanatvam tato gached karya bhave vicharataha. The most profound secret of Vedanta is given in these couple of verses here. Karye karanata ayata. Ayata means anugata. Karye. Now, let's look at any karya. So, this is a mechanical pencil. What do you have here? You have some plastic, and then you have some ink, and some parts of it is made of metal. So, the metal and the plastic material and the ink inside, they are anugata. They are hiding inside it, isn't it? It's made of plastic. Is it possible that I melted down? Or before this pencil was made, what kind of material inputs we had? We had plastic, we had some metal, we had some ink. And then through a process of mechanical production, this particular name and shape, name and form has been created. We call it a pencil. So the material cause of this pencil, material cause, these are the material inputs. They exist in the where? In the go down, where they have, in the factory. This form hasn't come out of that yet. Once it is there, this material inputs are here. But this pen is not there in the material input. This pen is also there in a hidden way. That is what the Sankhya's will say. The effect is hiding in the cause. Ghee is hiding in milk. Curd is hiding in milk. If the curd was not there in the milk, how did the curd materialize? Out of what? That is called Satkarya Vada. The cause is keeping the effect secret in it. That's what they say. For us, Vivartavada. So he's saying Karya Karanata Yata. So this Brahman is there everywhere, but Brahman has not undergone changes. But it's avikara, it is avikarya, there is no vikara, it's nirvikara. How did the sansara come? This is a projection, that is what it appears to be. It's not that what it is. Fundamentally, it's the Brahman only. Like the magician is showing some magic. And the magic appears real until we understand the magic. The magician doesn't see the magic, we see the magic. The Agyani sees the Sansara, the Gyani doesn't see the Sansara. Sansara vanishes, no, Sansara remains. What does he see? He sees the Karana, not the Karya. He sees the Karana of everything, and that Karana of everything is really what? It is Brahman, the foundation, that the substratum that is saying Karya Karanata Yata Anugata. Karane nahi karyata. The gold is there in the golden chain. Chain is not there in the gold. You can give it any shape. To be able to get a PhD, you must have a mind. To have a mind is not to have a PhD. That is the effect. So you can have cause without effect. You cannot have the effect without the cause. Nahi karyata. So this is a beautiful thing. We have to understand it. That effect cannot be there without the cause. A cause can be there without the effect. Rice and milk can be there without the pudding. A pudding cannot be there without rice and milk. Sansara cannot be there without Brahman. Brahman can be there without Sansara. When? Pralaya Kale. That is what it is. So karya karanata yata karane nahi karyata. Karanatvam tato gachet. Therefore, meditate on the karana, the cause. What is the foundational cause of everything? That Brahman. We have done that in Vivek Churamani. We have done that here. And what is the Panchikarana? How, so Tata Akasa Sambhuta, the Akasa comes out, the Panchatan Matras are there, then Hiranyagarbha, then he starts the Panchikarana Vritti or Panchikarana process, and then these Sukshma Bhutas become Mahabhutas, Sukshma Mahabhutas become the Panchikrita Mahabhuta. They get the Sthula Avastha, out of which then he creates the Sarira and all this Bhuta Varga, everything. And that is what we call Sansara. Therefore, he's saying in the verse number 136, I will deal with both of them together. In the verse number 136, he says, Atha suddham bhaveda vastu yadvai vachamagocharam Drashtavyam घटेनैव दृष्टान्तेन पुनः पुनः Atha Suddham Bhaveda Vastu. See, the Brahman is neither Karana nor Karya. Anything which is a cause is also impermanent in a certain way. The Brahman is not a Karana of everything. Karya Karana is a relationship which we perceive at our levels. At that level, there is nothing called Karya Karana. Yesterday, I was listening to some great, is a great physicist who invented the microprocessors. And he used to always say that the consciousness is all in the brain. And then I was listening to him a few hours ago. I'm just forgetting his name, where he's mentioning that, look here, I realized however smart a computer is, it doesn't have consciousness. What is consciousness? Consciousness is capable of self reflection. The computer, AI, and all that, they cannot do this. Machine learning, that subsect, that Atma thing is not there. So consciousness is much more fundamental. And I realize that all that we are saying, this material, I mean, what he said is very revolutionary, very Vedantic. And he's saying that matter is an illusion. Why? Because everything is traced to what? Particles. Are particles substances? No. What are they? They are just properties. Photon or electron, what is it? It's a certain property, and we are naming it as electron. We are naming the photon as a particle. So, particle is not like an object where there are certain qualities. Ultimately, this whole body and all that we see ultimately doesn't exist. What exists? That is the pure consciousness. It's like, I mean, we cannot be foolish enough to speak like wise physicists, except that we hear them and read that in few books, and some of the brightest minds in the world are now speaking, have started speaking in a language which is very soothing to the eyes of somebody who is a Buddhist or a Vedantist, because that is what, that secret is what our thousands of years back was captured as insights in the Vedas. So that's very exciting. And this whole consciousness is enormous. He's saying, Atha Suddham Bhaveda Vastu Yadvai Vacham Agocharam. That Atma Tattva Suddha Vastu cannot be described in words. It's beyond cause and effect. First, you try to isolate the effect from the cause. Then you look at the cause and you realize that in itself it's not cause or effect. Cause and effect is kind of a relational way of reflecting on some reality. It's a relation that we're talking about. But the Brahma Tattva is not related to anything. Bhagavan explained that in the 7th chapter. Do you remember? What did he say? Sorry, in the 9th chapter. He's saying, like the Akasa, like you have the Vayu Mandala, the atmosphere is correlated with the sky, is then in relationship. There is not. Similarly, everybody is in me, I am in no one, but finally they are also not in me, because this relationship is a adhyasika sambandha. It's a relationship of superimposition. It's an illusional conception of it. There's a manner of speaking. Fine enough. You have a science to deal with it. Ultimately not real. The smart guy knows this. Similarly, he's saying, Atham Suddham Bhaveda Vastu Yadvai Vacham Agosharam. We cannot talk about it. Drashtabyam Mrit Ghatena Eva. Like whenever you see mitti or clay, if you look at a pot, you can know it's a clay pot. You see the clay in the pot. You see the Brahman in samsara. You see the one in many. That is the wisdom of the Vedanta. You see one in many. Consciousness in all these diverse realities, some of them appear as animate and inanimate, human and animal and plant, and several things. But our fundamental unified field of consciousness is everywhere evident, not easy to capture through words or through our senses. Drishtantena punha punha. Why should I do it again and again? Because that is the magic of this whole thing. It's so difficult to accept. Even though at a deeper level of Vedantic meditation, it may become suddenly crystal clear to it. Crystal clear, the Acharya may drive home the point, successfully so. We may have a moment of epiphany. You have that wonderful feeling, oh my God, I finally reached that truth. That alone is real. And then you come out of the lecture hall, you board your car, you start driving, and then you're caught in a traffic jam. Where is your Brahman? It's everywhere. What are you stuck with? A traffic jam. And then maybe it's Chennai, it's raining, the waterlogging. You have a hell of a lot of problems. And then you say Brahman, Satya, Jagana, Mithya. And then if you have a very practical wife, she'll give you a big slap. He said, look, you have to fix these issues at home. There's no light. There's not this, not that. But does it mean this whole Vedanta that you are doing has become fruitless, useless? Not at all. Then how should I fix it? I'm all trouble. Acharya says, Drishtantena punah punaha. Don't get deluded by the immediate realities around you. You need to practice again and again. What is immediately real, not ultimately real. What is immediately real is going to be proved to be unreal after a few hours or days or years. Like our youth, like the excitement of whatever we experienced when we were in our teens. Where are those feelings? Sometimes you think, relax, and try to write a poem, remembering your youth, and you know, much of what we consider real is just like a flash in the pan, it just appears and disappears. So he's saying, try to reassert your understanding again and again, return to the truth. The commentary, let's look at it quickly. Tadeva swabhimatam sangam rajago abhidaya purva upakranta sankhya paraparyayam vedanta vicharam upasangarati karya ityadi panchavi sloke. The five verses in which what is the relation between cause and effect, and that is what he would mention in these next five verses. He will explain, and that is what he is mentioning here. And he's saying karye घटपटादि रूपे vikare karanata mrit tantwadi rupa ghata and pata. Like for example, you look at a clay pot, what is real about it? The clayness. You look at a sari or a dress, what is real about it? The thread, the yarn. That is what he's mentioning there. And what he's saying that ghata pata, all that, you look mrittantwadi rupa sarva vikara adhishtanata ayata anubhuta. So this Brahman is adhishtana, is the substratum over which everything else appears as visible. That is what he's mentioning. Akaso asti bhati ityadi vyavahara anubhuta satya jnanadi rupa brahmanaha. What is Brahman? What is the Swarupa Lakshana Brahman? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Where is that Brahman? It is Satyam, I don't see it. Jnanam, or where is it? How do I capture it? And then you say Avang Manasto Gochara, we cannot know about it through our mind. Why should we waste our time? He's saying, no, that is the ultimate truth. The most real, precious things are not easy to grasp, but they don't cease to be real. Therefore, he's saying Akaso Asti Bhati Ityadi Vyavahara Hetu Bhuta. What is the cause of the sky or the Akasa, a whole galaxy? Is that Brahman, out of which whole universe has manifested? Satyam Jnanam Itadi Rupanha Karanata Ayata Anuvata. This Brahman is all pervasive. Not one galaxy, but billions of galaxies. They are saying we have roughly about 2.5 billion or whatever, numbers keep changing. So he's saying what? Ayata Anugata Karane Brahmani tu Akasa Adi Karyata Nahiti. But the gold is there in the golden chain. Chain is not there in the gold. Gold can take any shape. Your mind can produce anything. If you have written a novel, you definitely have creative mind. You have a creative mind that you have written novel? No, not necessarily. You may be a painter, you may be a filmmaker. Therefore, Karya and Karana, we have to understand it, because in Pralaya Kala, Brahman is there, Sansara is not there. Paramarthataha Akasadi Abhave. So ultimately, even if Akasas and in the sky and the galaxy, everything will perish during Pralaya. Abhave Brahmana Karanatapi Nahi iti Drashtantiko Arthaha. Paramarthataha. Akasadi other things don't exist in Pralaya Kala. During that period of annihilation of this whole universe, is the Brahman Karana of anything? Where is the Karya? To say that you are creative, you have to have some creative product. Without any product, are you creative? No, you just have a mind. You have a creative mind. People say that when they see some creative product. A man becomes a dad when he is a child. Before that, he was just a man. He's not a father. He's having the capacity to. So you can't talk about fatherhood about a man who is not married, who doesn't have any children. So God is not the creator of this whole world because he can exist even without the creation. So what is God? Is he cause of this whole universe? Well, he is the cause of this universe when we are seeing the universe. But he exists even beyond the universe, and therefore he is neither cause nor effect. He's that Param Brahman and Shuddha. Therefore, in the next verse, he's saying, Karya Karana Bhava Nibrito Yat Suddham Manovasa Agocharam Nirvishayam. It's not the object of knowledge or any action. It's beyond the words, beyond your sense perception. That Brahman. Yato Vasa Nivartante Aprapya Manasasaha. The Vedanta says that, the Shruti Vakyas, that the words in your mind go and bounce back from that reality because they cannot enter into it. प्रसिद्ध द्योतनार्थो हि शब्दः ननु बुद्धेः क्षणिकत्वेन एकदा तथा विचारितेपि पुनः तथैव भाति इत्यतः. Like for example, you do a lot of scientific analysis of why the sky looks blue, and then after 2-3 hours of your intensive study about why the sky looks blue, you get out of your library and go and look at the sky. The sky is blue again. Sansara will appear as the way it does, and therefore, the only way to deal with the sansara is to return to the secrets about the sansara, and that is possible when we are aligned with Brahman or God, and that becomes easier. So, we'll stop here and then we'll start our class tomorrow again, same time. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Shanti, Shanti.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Tat Sat. So have a nice day. We'll meet again tomorrow.